Before we get into this video, I want to give a quick segment to our channel's #1 affiliate product. Fabletics is a sportswear brand that solely focuses on making quality clothing for athletes, gym goers, or just casual fitness junkies. Fabletics Men's The One Shorts offers a lightweight and quick-drying fabric for even the sweatiest gym goers. They also use antimicrobial and anti-odor technology, which provides extra support against those smelly odors from even the most intense exercise. Lastly, not to mention their high-stretch fabric for comfortability and space. And my favorite is their zip-up pockets to hold your items securely so you don't have to worry about damaging your personal items. If you are interested in these, the link for these shorts will be at the top of my description. And as always, enjoy these scary, true stories. I'm a pretty brave guy, I think. I'm fine with heights, bugs, gore, scary movies, all of those things. I'm also a fairly big guy. I stand at 6'5", and I spend a lot of time in the gym, so you can understand why it takes a lot to scare me. That must be why my friends find my fear of the ocean so amusing. I honestly can't stand it, but I think that's completely reasonable. I mean, there are so many things in the ocean out to get you. Even thinking about deep water, I get a sense of dread. But it's summer. Everyone is at the beach, my friends included. Last week, they told me that all of them were going to the beach on the weekend, and I had to come. You know how I feel about it. Can't you swim? Sure I can. In a pool. I'm telling you, any sane person shouldn't want to swim in the ocean. Get over yourself, Ted. You're a 25-year-old man, not one to be emasculated so easily. I decided I'd tough it out, helped by the Tracy's suggestion that if I wanted, I could just mope in the sand and get myself a tan. So Saturday morning, we went to the nearest beach. I spent the first 5 minutes lying down on the sand with Tracy, Caroline, and Ruth, but it was scorching, so I gave in and walked towards the water, much to Evan, Tyson, and Hank's delight. They were up to their waists in water, half attempting to drown each other, and laughing all the while. I was only up to my knees, but once they began to goad me, I took a step forward and immediately felt a prickling sensation on my leg. Evan moved towards me, probably planning on dragging me deeper, but I yelled at him to keep his distance. This weird-looking jellyfish just stung me. "Oh, I see it," he responded. The bell, or hood, which is to say the head of the jellyfish, was transparent, and it looked like there was this pink, wrinkly mass inside, with a ton of tentacles dangling from it, several of them touching my leg. Safe to say, I hopped back onto the sand pretty quickly. Tracy was apologizing profusely for pressuring me into swimming, which I just laughed at. "That's a nasty-looking sting you've got there, Ted." Evan interjected. He was right. A solid part of my leg surrounding the sting had gone extremely pale. "You want me to pee on it?" Tyson joked, now having walked over. "I'll pass. I'm not getting back in the water, though." "Okay, Ted, I'm not going to argue with you." We stayed there for about 2 more hours, by which point I had actually fallen asleep. I was woken up by Evan and the girls standing over me looking concerned, with the distant sound Tyson laughing maniacally, probably holding Hank underwater. "What's wrong?" I muttered, sitting up. "You're white as a ghost," Caroline pointed out. "Bit odd in this heat." Ruth agreed. They were right. I told them I'd head home, to which they insisted that I visit a doctor. As I drove home, though, I figured that the pink ones aren't meant to be dangerous. Besides, I was half asleep already. I got home and fell asleep as soon as I touched the bed. When I woke up, it was dark, and I had the intense need for water. I was still extremely tired, though, so I half crawled to my fridge and downed more than 5 bottles of water, right there and then. I felt a bit better then, so I stood up and caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I was much skinnier and hairless, but that wasn't very important. My skin was clear, fully transparent. My body didn't look right either. Instead of blood or muscle, I just saw my skeleton, my nervous system and my organs floating around in an elastic jelly-like substance. Understandably, I passed out. When I awoke, the sun was setting. I stumbled over to a mirror. I was hoping to find out that it was some strange nightmare. Instead, things had gotten worse. My organs, which I could unfortunately see clearly, were smaller and withered. My bones also looked to be in the process of dissolving. I passed out again. However, when I awoke this morning, it had been nearly a week since I had been stung. This time, though, I was comparatively full of energy. I walked over to a mirror once again. I looked like a humanoid mass of jelly. The only things inside of me were my brain and my eyes, now surrounded by a jellyfish hood, and my nervous system, in the final process of arranging itself into tentacles. Worse than that, though, I had the irresistible urge to return to the ocean. I managed to drive myself to the beach and found myself looking at around a dozen other people in the same state as I'm in. It makes sense. The beach was crowded when I visited last. As I watch everyone walk in, as soon as they set foot in the water, they collapse forwards, dissolving, leaving only the head and tentacles. It's kind of an effort to type with jelly fingers and all, but also resisting the urge to just enter the sea. That's when my eyeballs are going to disappear and I'll just be left as a jellyfish. There are only two things I hope for now. One, that I'm not conscious as a jellyfish. Two, that the beach isn't crowded this weekend. I'm not confident in either. So my advice, stay away from the beach this summer. Every summer it's the same thing. All my friends want to go to the beach, and I do whatever I can to get out of going. I make up some excuse or play it off with some joke and hope the topic doesn't get brought up again. I don't tell people the real reason I don't go to the beach, or why I don't like spending too long in the shower, or being around water in general. I'm writing this because I hope getting it off my chest will help me get over this thing. It all started when I was 8. My family had taken a trip to the beach. I remember being so excited to go. I remember running to the water's edge as soon as we climbed over the small hill between the parking lot and the sand. I remember my dad yelling at me to stop as he came running over and grabbed me. I had to wait till we set up the cooler and chairs and all that, he said. Finally, after my mom had rubbed suntan lotion on me and my sister, I was finally allowed to go into the water. I ran as fast as my legs could into the water. I remember how hot the day was, par for the course for a late July day, and I remember how nice the cold ocean water felt. I splashed around for about an hour or so, keeping close to shore like I was told, at least at first. But, like most kids do, I slowly began to back out into deeper water, becoming confident in my ability to safely swim back to shore. I remember I got out to where I couldn't feel my feet on the sand anymore. Then I heard it. Someone was calling my name. I stopped and looked around, but no one seemed to be trying to get my attention, so I ignored it and went back to swimming. After a few moments, I heard the voice call out again, this time while I was underwater. I grabbed a fresh breath and quickly dove back down. I heard the voice again, calling out to me from the deeper water. I don't know why I did it, but I followed the voice. Suddenly, something grabbed my foot and pulled me down. I struggled as much as I could, but I could feel my lungs begin to burn from lack of air. Just as I was about to give up, whatever it was let go of my leg, and I rose to the surface. I quickly came up and took a deep breath. I began to swim back to shore, be stopped. I couldn't see the shore. I looked all around me, and I couldn't see anything but open water all around me. Not only that, but something else was wrong. I couldn't see the sun. It was a beautiful sunny day before, not a cloud in the sky, but now only light gray sky. I looked around and the water was perfectly black. I didn't move, I just kept looking around me, hoping that I would see sand, but none. Then, just as I was beginning to cry, I felt the hand grab my leg and pull me back down. Next thing I remember, a lifeguard was standing over me. Apparently I had gone out too far and the undertow had taken me under. For the rest of the day I didn't go anywhere near the water and was glad when we finally left. I never told anyone what really happened to me. I didn't think anyone would believe an 8-year-old's story, but I know it's true. I know it's true because every time I go swimming in a pool, sit in a hot tub, or stay in the shower too long, I hear it calling me back. In January of this year, my family and I decided to plan a week-long vacation to Cocoa Beach, Florida. A large condo with a private beach entrance in what's known as the safest area, with all of the amenities sounded just good enough to jump on, and that we did. Last week we arrived in Cocoa Beach to our 2,500 square foot condo right on the water. We had our own long pier walkway to a locked gate that led to our part of the beach. It was locked tight and only the house key could get you on or off of the beach in that area for miles. We spent the first day on the beach with the kids, frolicking in the water and making sandcastles. Everything seemed perfect. The second day came, and our day was about the same. Spending all day at the beach, having a great time with the kids. It was a great day. That night, after the kids were sound asleep, we decided to sit out on the balcony and have a few drinks. About an hour later, my in-laws, they came with us, asked us if we would like to get out of the house and take a midnight stroll on the beach, and we obliged. Knowing our kiddos were in good hands, we took off into the night like giddy school kids. Time alone? What is this? We began our walk down the pier to the gate. It was pitch black. The lights from our cell phones were the only thing guiding us down the long, dark pier. About halfway down, I began to see a dark mass at the end of the pier just past the gate. It looked like a rock of some sort. The closer we got, the more distinct the mass became, but I still couldn't figure out what it was. It did not move with the wind, and it made no sound. It was as still as the night. We walked up to the gate, and I flashed my light on the mass. To my surprise, it was a person, sitting at the gate, looking at the waves. They were wearing a black hoodie and dark pants. Everything black. We spoke to the figure, no answer. The figure never moved, not one time. As my husband put the key to the gate, I tapped him and whispered, "No, I don't like that. Everything about this feels wrong." As we began our walk back, I noticed that the figure was still there, not moving, not looking at anything, just there. We made our way down the street to a local pub and spoke with the owner and some locals about our experience. They all agreed that this was highly unusual and that we made the right choice not going onto the beach. We laughed it off, shared a few drinks, talked about real estate there for a bit, and headed back to the condo. During our walk back, I just couldn't shake the fact that less than 100 feet away from where we were sleeping, there was a person just squatting on our pier. I told my husband that I had to go back and talk to her again. I had to see a face. I had to hear a response for myself, or I would literally not sleep. He reluctantly agreed, and we headed back to the pier. We stood there, scared honestly, but we decided we had to speak to person. This time we turned on the assistive lights on our phones and headed down loudly. We got to the gate, and to our disbelief, the figure was still there. It had been at least 2 hours since we had gotten to the bar. We turned our lights to it and said, "Hey, what's going on? What are you doing?" The figure turned around. She was a female, dark skin with freckles. Very cute, actually. She looked at us with insane eyes and said, "I am fine. I just sleep listening to the water. My children are out there in the water, and I am waiting for them to come back to me." I replied, "Your children, do you need anything? Are you thirsty?" She yelled, "I'm fine. My children will come back to me someday." Needless to say, we wasted no time noping the fuck out of that conversation and heading back to the condo. We made sure the lights were off and all curtains were shut, as I didn't want her to know where we were staying. The rest of the night went without incident. Continue to the next night. We are all sitting inside with the doors open, listening to the waves, when we start to hear people outside walk up to the pier and scream. One person after the next. We finally decided to shut out the lights and hang out on the balcony. The condo came with binoculars, so we brought those out with us and looked out to the gate. As soon as we sat down, a group of guys started to walk past the gate with their flashlights on the beach, picking up seashells, I assume. They got up to the gate, flashed the light over, and then stopped. Flashed the light at the beach and then back at the gate. Then again, this time I took a look up close. She was there, just like before, same everything. This time she was just scaring the shit out of every single person who walked by. It was like they could sense her presence before they even arrived. It was just so odd. Nothing felt right about it, but she never moved. It was almost sad. We had a few drinks and we all went to bed. Continue to that night. Mid-sleep, I'm awoken to the sound of 3 very distinct knocks on the patio door. I sit up and look at the clock. It's 3 a.m. No joke, no satanic innuendo. It's just what happened. I got up and looked out the window. I could faintly see something on the beach. It looked blurry, almost foggy. I had an overwhelming sense of something watching me, so I went into the living room and grabbed the binoculars. I looked back out of our patio window and my heart stopped. It literally stopped. My blood ran completely cold. I felt myself breathe a shiver. She was on the beach. She was looking at me and smiling, right at me. through the binoculars. It was pitch black in our condo, yet she could see me right at that very moment, like she had been waiting the entire time. I dropped the binoculars to the floor and screamed. I ran into bed and tried to wake up my husband, but to no avail. It was bone-chillingly frightening. I have never ever been that scared. I never looked out there again at night. My beach days ended at 7 p.m., and balcony nights were only spent with family. I can't help but relate the knocking to her. How would I have known to get up? Why 3 knocks at 3 a.m.? How could she have done that when I was in a 4th-story condo and she was well over 100 feet away on the other side of a private gate? What was it about her that scared so many people?